we are live. Chef Eric here, the Grateful Chef, going under a different name today. And I want to ask you folks to do me a big favor, because there's lots of clam puns that might be said during this show. So if you would, to settle an argument, please, if you hear a pun, a clam joke, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, like this one. Hey, my name is Gordon Clamsy. Welcome to Cooking in the Kitchen with Gordon Clamsy. I got head shaking over here. You tell me if that was a good joke, because I think it was great. So I want to say, as always, I have much gratitude for you tuning in, checking out what we're doing here in the kitchen. And I say we because it's not just me. It's me and you. It's me and Lynn. Who is this Lynn? Lynn is the camera woman, the producer, and the wind beneath my wings. And tonight, we've got a full house in the studio audience here. We have some new folks, and we have visiting friends who have been here before, Mark and Denise. We have a very special guest, Brendan, the man, the myth, the legend. Kira is back, and we have Lynn's friend,
Michael.
Michael.
From France.
From France. Michael is visiting us from France. We have Sabrina, of course, visiting us once again. And hoping that the camera doesn't turn in his direction is Chris.
A really great
my sous chef, always my best buddy. And we're really psyched. You know, you put the clam word out there, you know. There's such a clamor about it that they have to run to, the mollusk check what's going on. You know,
are you going to do this the entire time?
Maybe.
I bet you set him up and cook.
Yes.
So anyway, again, thanks if you're joining us again, and if you're new, this is the first time you're seeing the show. Chime in, tell us who you are, say hello. Lynn will try and give you a shout out so I can recognize that you're here, and I'm always grateful for those who are. And so tonight, it being summer, we are continuing with our summer fare. Past couple of weeks, we've been doing fish, we've been doing stuff out at the grill. It's like 90 degrees, and there was a slight threat of rain, so I decided let's bring it back inside, into the studio, out from the patio, and that's what we're doing today. And who doesn't love clams? What better thing to do for summer is do clams. We're doing them a couple of ways. So we are having Clam Jam 2019, and I decided to put the date because I noticed in my history on Facebook that I had done clams a year ago on this day. So I guess that muscle memory in the kitchen brings it back, the muscle memory in the kitchen, bringing it back. And
Facebook doesn't have thumbs down.
Oh, okay, great. Then you all like my joke. Perfect.
I could have like the crying.
So tonight we're taking a gamble on Clams Casino. Okay, that's sort of a clam joke. Okay, we are visiting Italy with the Clams Oreganata, two classic dishes. I have them prepared here because we're doing a half-hour show now. So I could tell you about what went in these things. These have to go into the oven under the broiler. And we're going to do some shucking, some clams in the half shell. We're going to talk about different kinds of clams. And that's how we're going to start the show. Put the board away.
And we've got Lisa Pashota out from California. She says hello.
Hello,
so excited
Lisa.
to be able to watch you live today.
Fantastic. Glad you're here. All right. First thing we're going to. I went and I tried to get as many types of clams as I could to show you guys. I'm going to put these in the oven real quick. These are going under the broiler. My dutiful sous chef, Chris, will be keeping his watchful eye and switching them around. So you'll see him running around in the background a little bit. Remember, 30,000 BTUs. It broils like, nobody's business. All right. I just want to go over a couple of different kinds of clams, mollusks. Couldn't find them all, of course. I'm going to grab two out of here because these are the cherry stones. And so I bought a bag of 200 cherry stones. So this is a cherry stone. Can you see it on the counter here?
Yes.
Okay, good. So these are cherry stones. You can see they're a nice, reasonable size, typical for shucking. They're manageable to eat them raw. There were some smaller ones in the bag. We took them out. We're going to shuck them. They've all been scrubbed. There is a middle neck clam that they did not have, so I couldn't get them to show you. But these next two are top neck clams, so you can see quite a bit bigger than the little necks. Top necks.
Does that refer to the size of the clam, where it came from, or the type of clam?
No, it's just it's pretty much the size of the clam. So those are the top necks, and then you have, these are all called surf clams. New England call them quahogs. In the market I got them. That's my New England accent. They had them listed as chowder clams. This is typical when you're making a chowder. Lots of juice in there, so you get the benefit of the liquor inside, and they're good for chopping up and making chowder. We also have some other.
Sorry, would you eat them whole?
No, they're enormous. So.
Unlike those oysters that you've had in the past?
Oysters are a little more delicate.
Okay.
The clams have a little more chew to them. So the next clam we've got here are cockles, like this. Don't make jokes. This is my show, Chris. So these are cockles, very small, very delicate. They open in minutes, like not even minutes. And typical, they'll use these when you make paella, maybe some bigger ones, manila clams. They didn't have the manila clams either. They're also known as brown clams. So we'll put those over here because they're smaller. We have one of my personal favorites, actually. These are steamers. These are really great, total New England thing. They have a foot, as you can see. And typically you'll steam them open. The foot has a little bit of a papery skin on it, so you peel that off. And then you use the foot, and you'll typically dip them in some clam broth to get the sand, any sand off of them, and then dip them in some clarified melted butter, and then eat them. These are sweet and delicious. Up in New England, they call them pisses, because, they do.
What happens if you don't take that film off of the
It's
foot?
just not palatable. It doesn't have a good mouthfeel. So you do that once they're cooked. So these are your pisses, or your... and they're you can see I just broke the shell. This one's going in the garbage. But the shell itself is very soft shell. It breaks very quickly. So that one's going in the trash. And then there's a clam that, talk about a clammer. These I found at the Korean market. And these are called blood clams. Now blood clams, not only do they look funky, they've got like this fuzzy kind of algae on them. They're soft and fuzzy. They call them blood clams because there's a fair amount of hemoglobin in the clam meat itself. Okay, so I just wanted to show you these. I was going to cook these up, but today I was reading about clams, studying up to give you accurate information, and I came across an article that in 2008, a lot of times these come from China. I'm not sure where these come from, but 2008, about 30,000 people got sick by eating blood clams. 33 of them died. And these are on the top 10 most dangerous things to eat in the world. Now, I'm guessing these have been properly purged because they were in a tank full of water that was constantly changed. And that's the key, the difference between people getting sick and people not. So I'm sure these are fine and good to eat. I'm not cooking any of these clams that I have here in front of me. I just wanted to show you the different ones. So again, cockles, little necks, top neck, chowder clams. We've got steamers, pisses, and we've got the blood clams that are right up there with fugu. If you know what fugu is, it's blowfish. And we're just gonna play it safe. I got a lot of things to do this month. So dying from a clam is not on my schedule.
All right, so we've got Paul Taboni. He said, hey.
Hey, Paul.
We also have Dave LaGarcia.
This smells really good.
So Dave's out there by the pool drinking wine. Andy had 2 pounds for lunch today.
Excellent, excellent.
And Phil Deal, after listening to all your puns, said, "Don't quit your day job."
I won't. Do I have a day job? Yes, this is my day job. Anyway, so we're going to get to shucking some clams. Yeah, I can tell it's cooking quick, right? Fast. All right.
You've got a good broiler.
Yeah, we got a great broiler. It works. Okay. So we're going to talk about shucking. Now, this is a clam knife. This is an oyster knife. Okay? So the oyster knife has a curve to it. It's very hard, solid. Getting into that hinge of an oyster and using it as a pry bar. Clams, a lot easier to open. So this is a flat blade. It's thin, so you can get in between the clam and open it up. And I want to encourage you guys not to, I always tell you, don't fear the food. This is something that you can absolutely do. Get yourself the knife. It's not expensive. I'm sure they sell them at the supermarket right next to the clams. So we're going to pick a nice clam here. I want one that has a pretty defined spot so you can really see. All right, let's try this one.
So I'm gonna zoom in for you.
Yeah, zoom in. I'm going to come up here. Okay. And so you can see this the white line there. You kind of want to, you can actually see where the two halves of the shell meet. That's where you want to put your knife. And you can also see that there is an indentation here. This one right here. I typically want to put that into the corner of my hand. And I use these fingers to pull the knife towards the clam. But you first have to line it up. Once you got it lined up, you just give it a little squeeze. Of course, that one's going to be tough. And you just got to keep trying. Now, in the clam, there are two muscles that hold the clam shut. So you can see there's two muscles, one here and one here. So the idea is I want to cut through the muscle on this side, and I want to pull the knife out a little bit, bring it around, and cut the other muscle. I don't want to cut the clam in half. So basically, I'm going to do just that, a little wiggle, cut through that muscle, and pull the knife out, and then bring it around, and then cut through that other muscle. And then it opens.
What does the muscle feel like when you're?
It's rubbery. You can't eat it. It's very rubbery.
How do you know the difference?
You just got to know where they are in the clam.
Okay.
So if I open the clam up, you can see that the clam is still intact. This is naturally part of the top clam. You just want to scrape it down and scrape it off the muscle, completely separate it, and then twist off the top shell. That goes in the garbage. Now, let's see if I can show you the two muscles. So there's one here. It's pink.
I'm gonna come in really close.
Come in really close. You might want to bring the camera closer too.
Yeah, I can get really close.
Okay, so here's the pink area of the clam. And you might not be able to see it on camera, but that's okay. And you're basically just going to cut it and scrape it from the bottom shell. And you want to make sure that the clam is completely separated. And you want to, I usually do this over a bowl because I want to retain that liquor. It's called liquor because it ain't water. It's really good stuff. Typically what one will do is they will either do a squeeze of lemon, a little bit of Tabasco. That's what I'm going to do. And the joy is that when you take in the clam, it's not connected to the shell anymore.
And Jay said yum.
And that's it. Really tender, really briny, juicy. It's phenomenal. So, two.
Oreganata's out.
Okay, oreganata's out. Perfect. So I'm going to do one more just to show you again.
I'm going to zoom in again.
Okay, I'm going to find that separation between the two shells, popping in my knife, wiggle. Top shell did crack. That happens every so often. Work it around. And when the shell does crack, you just want to pull those pieces off because they'll just get in the way.
So I'm going to say, can you do another one? And I'm going to come from a different angle.
Open, Scrape. Cut through those mussels to separate. Okay, this shell is kind of bad, but what we can do is use the shell from another clam if you're doing this for people. You know what I mean? I threw them in the garbage, so we'll save that one for the next. One more, and I'm going to hand them over to Chris. We're going to get our next dish going. Got it?
Yep.
Let's get another one.
Give Chris all the hard ones.
Yeah, good idea. That one. Okay, in. I'm cutting this mussel first. Just a little wiggle of the clam. And then I'm pulling the knife out. All right. Where am I? I can't see. Okay, there we go.
Moving around.
All right. And now I'm bringing it across the front and cutting through that other one. Now it's open, and I just kind of pull it with my thumb, open it up, scrape the top, meat from the top, twist off. I'm going to use that shell for the other one, and then let's see if I can get you a good picture of that mussel. So that's the mussel right there. Pink. Just want to cut through it. Go around to the other side, cut through that one. And typically what the pros do is they'll flip the clam over because the side against the other side is smoother. And that's basically what you got. We're going to put them, you can put them on ice. Or if you're not going to eat them right away, you can do this ahead. Not too far ahead, but you can do a little bit ahead. And that's pretty much shucking clams.
And a great question from Paul DeBoni. How
Yes.
can you tell if you have a bad clam?
Your clams must always be closed. They must hold shut. If they do not hold shut, that clam is dead and you want to get rid of it. Typically, when you open a dead clam, you'll smell it, and it does not smell pretty. But yeah, these are all good clams. When you're washing them, you want to make sure that that they're all closed, that they're not cracked. If they're cracked, get rid of them. And there was one other thing I want to talk to you about before I forget. When you buy clams, especially if you buy them in a bag like I did, mussels the same thing. There are these very important pieces of information. These are the tags. This tells everything about where they came from, where they were farmed, dates, what size they are, the license of the shellfish farmer, everything. So this went from the farmer, it went to the place I bought it, so I've got 2 tags here, and it is by law that the tag should be retained for 90 days. For 90 days you have to hold on to this tag, because this is how they trace if, say, there's some clams that were farmed in waters that were not healthy, polluted, someone gets sick, they need to be able to trace where that clam came from. This is how they do it. I typically put them on my refrigerator behind a magnet right here, and I hold on to them until for 90 days. If it's a restaurant, they're required to keep that tag on the bag they come in until it is empty, and then retain it for 90 days. So that is very important. It's a very important tidbit. There you go, Chris. All right, we're going to go to the stove. Oh my God, do these look good.
About the
Let me show you these.
about opening the clams, when you see the skin, how do you know if it's is it like a silver skin?
Which skin? On the clam?
Yeah, on the top part.
No, it's just that you can see it's a thin layer of the clam meat is on the top, so you just got to scrape it down. It's really, really good. Let's look at these real quick. These are our Clams Casino. Bacon, it's got breadcrumbs, it's got a little Reggiano Parmesan, it's got shallots. I used a fresh breadcrumb. I actually had some brioche buns left over, so I ground them up. And it's a little vermouth. And then I put the bacon on top. These look absolutely stunning. Fantastic.
So do you just start off the way you did with the other clams? Put them on the salt, and then put your topping on and broil them?
Yep. That's exactly what I did. Now this one, we had a couple that got a little dark, but these are still going to be delicious. So these are the Clams Oreganata. This is basically I used panko breadcrumbs. So it's panko crumbs, it's mint, it's oregano, it's olive oil. I don't think there's cheese in here. And you just make this, you mix it all together with the olive oil, make it kind of a wet, like a sandy texture. You shuck the clams, you cover them up, you put them on, you do a little drizzle of olive oil, you put them under the broiler. Absolutely delicious. So I'm going to put those right there. And we're going to come over to the stove then, where we are going to make one of my favorite dishes. You can make this with pasta if you want. We're not doing pasta tonight. We're doing straight up Zuppe de clams. It's kind of like a soupy clams. Here I have, we've done this before. This is my quick tomato sauce. It's olive oil in the bottom of the pan, copious amounts of sliced garlic, and then a couple of cans of San Marzano tomatoes. Whole, I crush them with a potato masher. I usually will throw in maybe 3 or 4 anchovy fillets that completely disappear. You won't know they're in there. And I also put in about a tablespoon of sugar because the canned tomatoes have a high acid content, so I just want to tame it just a little bit. So I've got in my pot, let me just grab this olive oil, honey, sorry. In my pot I have nothing. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put a little olive oil in there. All right. I'm going to flavor that olive oil with a couple of pieces of basil, which I'm just going to tear. Just want to get it till it's hot. Cut that broiler off. Looks okay, honey, with the light? You need me to turn the light on?
It. A little bright.
Okay.
Up to you. But you kind of glow.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to flavor that. Get that hot. And now I'm going to add this tomato sauce. Not all of it. A little bit of it. So what's going to happen is, and this tomato sauce is quite thick. That's exactly what you want to hear. What's going to happen is, as the clams open, they are going to release their liquor, and this is going to become nice and soupy, just the way we want it. We're going to serve this in bowls with some bread. Some nice long bias slices of bread that we toasted in the oven earlier.
Kaylin, did you see Mark had a question about why salt on the bottom of the pan?
Why do you put salt on the bottom of the pan?
Salt on the bottom of the pan helps stabilize the clamshell so the liquor doesn't pour out. So once you open it, it's got that liquor in there with the clam meat. You set it on the salt and it just keeps it from tipping over, basically.
And Paul Boney asked, what's the best way to store clams?
I store clams in a container. When I bought the giant bag of 200, I had to use my cooler. So I basically put a bag of ice in the bottom of the cooler. I put the bag of clams on top, another bag of ice on top of the clams, and then kept it shut, and they stayed in there. I bought the clams yesterday. They're perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. All right, so we've got the olive oil, we've got some of the basil, we've got my tomato sauce. And now we are going to pick out, we're going to turn that camera around, honey, because I want to show them what I've got here. So this is basically what is left of the bag of 200 clams. So definitely, we've got 9 people here tonight. So there's definitely enough here for everybody. So I'm taking some of the bigger ones to do the Zuppe. And the ones that we're shucking for raw, we pulled out some of the smaller ones. And because they're more enjoyable when they're smaller, when they're raw. These we're going to just put in that beautiful tomato base. Maybe we can grab a couple more of these. And typically what I want to do is, and these have all been washed by the way, Get rid of the sand. Yeah, that's enough. Come back over here. You're doing great with the camera. I'm all over the place tonight. So what I want to do is I want to take these clams. I want to make sure I get the muscle part. Remember I showed you where the muscles are. I want to get those. Whoa! Hold on to that. I'm going to. I want to make those muscles is what's going to release and open the clam. So I just want to make sure that that part is in the sauce. Okay. I'm going to put as many in here as I can without overcrowding. And I may just have to make 2 batches for my friends here.
All right. So, sorry, can you walk me through again what you were doing in there before the camera went wonky?
So I'm putting the clams in, and I want to make sure that those 2 mussels are in the hot sauce.
So the
Yeah.
part that closes the back
Right, the
stays up.
part that holds it up. Right. So I don't want to. What I think I'm going to do is I reserved the liquor from the clams that I opened for the Oreganata and for the casino. This stuff is like gold. It is delicious. So I'm going to thin this out just a little bit. It'll help a little along the way. If you don't do that, if you don't save the liquor, if you don't have enough liquor, certainly do not hesitate to go out and buy this clam juice, because the only ingredient is natural juice from sea clams. Sea clams are kind of like those quahogs. There's no added salt. This is why I like this brand. So be careful because it can get quite salty. All right, at this point,
You got a hi from Len.
hi Len.
Dad.
So I'm going to cover these up. I'm going to turn the heat up. We want them to steam open. And while that is happening, I'm going to plate up our.
So am I coming over there?
I'm going to put the clams on here. Where's my sizzle? So here we go. All right.
Where are we going?
I'm going to go right over here. You're all over. I got you running tonight.
Yes, you do. All right.
All right, so these are the Oreganata. They look absolutely beautiful. Not even worried about the ones that got a little dark. I'm going to brush some of it off. How about that? So I guess I am worrying about it. These are beautiful.
They're more beautiful when the salt isn't glowing.
All
Thank you.
right. See? Camera woman's got jokes too.
Uh-huh.
I was just going to ask, did you run out of puns?
No, they come to me when they come to me, and I just, it's like, I don't know. They roll in with the tide. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking that once he started rolling with the cooking, it's a different part of the brain.
I'm trying to multitask here. Oh, look at these. Beautiful.
Okay.
Casino. So you all saw that Len is watching. Well, this is one of Len's favorite, and I remember as a kid going to a place, I think it was in Linden, or Clark maybe. It was called Teps. It was absolutely delicious, Clams Casino. So I've been a fan of Clams Casino for a long time. These look awesome. These are juicy and delicious. So again, the Clams Casino has in it your typical Clams Casino. I've got red and green bell pepper, really fine brunoise. That's a really small dice. And it's got breadcrumbs, it's got vermouth, absolutely delicious. And you basically cook it's got shallots in it, so shallots, the peppers, you cook them in a pan, you take the pan off, you throw in a little bit of Reggiano Parmesan, you throw in the breadcrumbs, you mix it all together. It's beautiful, beautiful thing. Once that cools, you can make your clams. So.
Okay, we've got Elle with us from Texas. So.
Hey, Elle.
Howdy, Elle. And we also have Tom D'Elia.
Tommy D'Elia.
I got it.
I'll
Anyway,
see you on the 16th.
so Tommy said this is one of his favorite dishes, and you are the best.
Thank you, Tommy.
You're awesome.
You're the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And as Kira said, Tommy also said that I'm awesome. So
Thank you for not beating me up in
I'm awesome.
at Columbia Middle School. Oh, indebted for you for life. Anyway, it's a long story. Yeah, so you want to come back to the stove now, honey?
I would love to.
All right.
Hmm? There you go. Come over here.
You're gonna see where we're at. This is
I don't even know where I'm going.
nice.
I've got my helper. Alright, I'm gonna get his head back in
This
there.
is boiling nicely. We have one I can see is starting to open. I have some more basil here. I'm just going to tear it in. Nothing like fresh basil from the garden. Use it in every opportunity. Look at that.
Oh,
Okay.
Paul asked, what does your shirt say?
My shirt.
Yes.
It says grateful in Egyptian font. It is a nod to the Grateful Dead when they went to Egypt, 1972. Jerry Garcia had a shirt that said dead in the same font. So I thought me having a shirt that says grateful is pretty appropriate. So let's see, I want you to come in if you can a little bit, Lynn, because I want you to see how they're beginning to open.
Come with me.
All right, they're beginning to open, this one especially. And what's going to happen is when they do open, they will pop, but this sauce will go inside, and the chunky tomato and the garlic is going to go right into the clam, and it's just, this is a pot of joy right here, as my sous chef Chris will say. So once you have a clam that it was held closed, and you cook it, and it opens even this much, it's safe. You can take it and you can pry it open if you want. This way, you don't overcook them. But yeah, it's completely safe. You don't have to wait for them to pop open. They're just much easier to eat when they do. So these are getting there. Totally getting there. Some will take longer than others. Kind of mix it around, shake it a little bit. We just want to make sure that they open and get that sauce inside. And you can see how much thinner the sauce is because these clams are absolutely releasing their liquor into this sauce, which is going to make it an amazing flavor. So we're going to give it a little more with the lid on. I'm going to throw together a real quick salad while that's happening. So we might as well come back to the cutting board. Oh, Mark, do not behave. Yes, behave. All right, salad I've done before. These are some mesclun greens mixed with a little arugula. We're going to do real simple. We've done this before. It's a typical Italian salad. I have lemons here. We're going to do lemons. And when I'm making a salad dressing in the bowl, a la minute, I tend to want to do the oil last, because if you coat this lettuce with oil, nothing will stick to it. So let's do the lemon first. I'm going to get into that lettuce, and then we'll come back and finish it with the oil.
How do you know you have enough lemon on there?
I've done this about 1,000,000 times.
How will your audience know?
You want to taste your lemons for tartness? So you're going to do, I don't know, a big bowl like this, maybe a quarter cup of lemon juice.
Okay.
So I've got that lemon in there. Put a little bit of salt. Okay. Now I'm going to drizzle with olive oil. Turn that down a little bit, a little vigorous. Drizzling with olive oil.
How do you know how much olive oil to use?
You're going to use a couple of tablespoons or more. You're going to have to do it by taste.
I'm such a measurer.
You're more than just a measurer tonight, honey. Okay, so
Was
We're
that
doing a
hey?
little black pepper.
Was that hey? You're annoying me.
No, you never know. And if that weren't enough, we're going to take my vegetable peeler, and this is Reggiano Parmesan, king of all cheeses. We are going to shave on top.
Okay, this was one of the coolest tricks. Like
some
when I first met
shards.
When I first met you, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
That's why you love me.
That's why I love you.
Taught you a trick.
You taught me a trick.
All right. So we're going to do that, and this salad is done. So again, taste your lemons so you can adjust the taste, but this will be just fine. For the Reggiano, we're going to toss it up. Beautiful salad implements of destruction. And about, how long did that take? Yeah, maybe 30 seconds. You've got its delicious salad. Typically, in Italian restaurants, they may do it with just arugula, but we're thinking out of the box. Like I always say, it's my kitchen, my rules. Let's see how our clams are doing. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that down just a little bit.
Are we coming over?
Sure. I'm gonna make a bowl right now. Ones that are open. All right. So this one's definitely open. You see how great those clams look. Number 3. I'm gonna get another spoon. I'm gonna get some of this awesome sauce with the basil. So you can also see how great this would be with some pasta.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a, Zuppe. Sometimes in a restaurant I'll order Zuppe de clams over pasta, but the Zuppe part really means it's like saucy like that. Another one, I'm going to pull it out. These clams look absolutely delicious. This is done, so I'm shutting it off. And now let's eat this. I'm going to serve it with my bread. 2 pieces of bread. And this is key. You can do it with fresh bread. You can toast your bread in the oven like that. It will absolutely soak up this delicious sauce. Look at that. That is awesome. This to me is comfort food at its finest. It's going to be really hot. I'm going in anyway for you guys, for your benefit. And you can see how plump that clam is. Going to have a little bit of basil on there. Now remember, these have not been shucked, so they are still attached. And they come out real easy. I'm going to try and get some of the garlic from the tomato sauce. And this is the part of the show where Chef Eric burns his mouth.
Oh.
Beautiful clam. I can see it's just plump, just waiting to explode. Here we go. What do you guys think?
Yummy.
Mm-hmm.
How hot is that?
Not too bad. Very briny. The sauce is what's key. The sauce here has gotten all the clam flavor. You got the basil. I use a ton of garlic in that. I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of this toast.
So,
Killer.
oh,
Spilling out of my mouth. It's so good. Oh,
so
anyway.
just real quick, what went into
Yes.
your sauce? I know your recipe's out online, but
yes. So the sauce again. Fill the bottom of the pan with olive oil. Copious amounts of sliced garlic, nice and thick. You want to slowly bring that up to temperature. You don't want the garlic to brown necessarily. You want it to infuse its flavor into the oil. It does that. Then just as you start to see a little bit of browning going on, I put in cans, 28-ounce cans of San Marzano, whole tomatoes, peeled. And once I put them in, it cools the pan down a little bit. I take a potato masher and I mash them up, and I cook them with the lid for about 10 minutes, just so the flavor's infused. Then I take the lid halfway off, and I slowly let it simmer so it reduces down, it concentrates in flavor, it thickens a little bit. That's it. I put in those anchovies too. Put the anchovies in after I put the tomatoes in. Or you can do it with the olive oil. It really doesn't matter at that point. Put the anchovies in. If you don't like anchovies, trust me on this, you won't taste the anchovies. It'll just be an umami flavor in the back that you don't know what it is. And, there's no bones or anything. You let that cook. You can certainly add chili flakes to this. In fact, I will because I like to. I like it hot, but not everybody does. So I'm going to add it individually to my bowl. Beautiful. And when you're cooking clams, it's okay that the sauce is thicker because it's going to spill their liquor right into it as they open, and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So, anyway, I think we've done a good amount of damage here. Clams. Clams are your friend. So we've got here on my right, your left, I have the oreganato, full of herbs, mint, oregano, garlic, olive oil. The classic Clams Casino with that bacon, the red and green bell pepper, cheese, fresh breadcrumbs. We've got our delicious Zuppe clams served with a lot of bread. They're absolutely delicious. And Chris has been working away, thank you, sir, shucking these absolutely delicious looking fresh clams. You see these clams here, honey? We're going to serve those with a couple of wedges of lemon. Okay, really good. Squeeze the lemon on there if you want. Of course, don't forget the classic Tabasco sauce if you like it hot. Killer. We're going to eat. I'm going to say, as always, thank you for joining us in the kitchen with Chef Eric, Grateful Chef. That's me. I bid you good eating. I bid you, I see you smiling. I bid you good eating, good living, eat well, be kind, and we'll see you next week for another great episode of Cooking in the Kitchen with Chef Eric. Peace.